$20 to Fear, written and read by the Mason of Imagination. Devlin Baker jumped out of the 25-foot U-Haul on the sheetrock shoulder. The hood of the truck was billowing white noxious steam coming from a cracked radiator. Devlin looked around at this little town he found himself on the outskirts of and released a whistling sigh. He turned back to the open door and fished out the card with the 800 number, and then slammed the door shut. Sticking the card in his pocket, he began trotting towards this godforsaken little hamlet in the middle of the all-too-featureless plains of Illinois. Coming into town, Devlin saw a restaurant and made that his destination. He muttered to himself, a phone, maybe a beer. He judged the distance at about a mile, perhaps a shot even. Devlin finished, smirking to himself. The town seemed to consist of this block with the restaurant and 4 other blocks. The surrounding area was corn and soybean fields. Devlin couldn't recall seeing a sign as to the town's name or population, but in his opinion, there were probably 12 people living in the town of nowhere. A strong wind blew across the corn stalks, and the dry sound mixed well with Devlin's laughter. Above the door was a sign reading McConaughey's Eatery and Tavern, lettered in bold dark red letters with green trim. Devlin opened the door, and a set of brass bells rung him in to McConaughey's. 5 tables peopled the floor, along with 4 booths. From one of these, a young couple regarded Devlin with curious eyes. Along the bar counter, there were 14 stools, 5 of which were occupied. Devlin already liked the atmosphere of McConaughey's. The multitude of neon beer label signs added a colorful light to the interior. Standing behind the bar, watching Devlin approach, is a rough-looking, barrel-chested man, red-headed, with glittering emerald-colored eyes. "Something I can help you with, stranger?" asked the bartender with a thick Irish accent. "Do you have a phone?" The man looked him over. "Aye, the telephone's back there." Devlin followed the cocked thumb and saw the payphone on the wall next to the bathrooms. Devlin slapped the counter lightly. "Thank you." He walked back to the phone, pulling the card. He nodded to the 5 men sitting together at the end of the bar, and they nodded back. As he picked up the receiver and began dialing the helpline, he heard the bartender call, "Are you kids all right over there, Devlin?" Devlin plugged his other ear with his knuckle, but still heard them reply, "Yes, Mr. McConaughey." Devlin then heard 1 ring, 2 rings, then 3, and the line picked up. An animated woman said crisply, "We're sorry, all lines are busy right now. Please hang up and try your call again." Devlin slammed the phone into its cradle. Catching a glimpse from the bartender, he held his hands up and then tried the helpline once more. This time, it didn't even ring. She just came back. "We're sorry, this call cannot be made at this time. Please hang up and try again." Devlin looked at the card, puzzled, and the voice came again. "Please hang up and try again." Devlin gently hung up the phone this time and walked back towards the bar. He took a seat away from the other 5 men. The bartender walked over and jammed his hand across the counter at Devlin. "Name's Seamus. Seamus Nathaniel McConaughey." Devlin took the hand. "Devlin Baker." Seamus smiled. "What can I get you to drink?" "A beer and a shot of whiskey." Devlin figured he couldn't drive, so why not have a drink? He looked down the bar as Seamus got his order and saw that the 5 men were all looking at the same thing. The man in the middle of the group has a farmer's almanac out and open on the bar. They all seemed intrigued. The man closest to Devlin said to Seamus, "It's an evil moon tonight, Mr. McConaughey. You may want to close up shop early." Devlin laughed along with everyone else's at the bartender's reply. "I pay no mind to that kind of blarney, Mr. King. Now eat your peanuts and shut up." A beer bottle and a shot of whiskey were set down in front of Devlin. "Thank you, Seamus." "You're welcome, sir." Seamus leaned on the bar. "So tell me, Mr. Baker, what brings you to me tavern so late in the afternoon?" Devlin slammed the whiskey and walked it home with the beer. "I broke down just outside of town. I'm on my way to Ohio right now. I'm trying to contact the U-Haul people." Seamus stood back up. Well, there's a hotel here in town if you need it, just in case you don't contact them. He headed down the bar, ready to serve. Devlin took another drink of beer and looked out the window. Dusk had come to the world, and a large orange hunter's moon was already working its way over the horizon. A thought occurred to him. Jane would be worried about him. This breakdown was going to set him back a few hours. He got up, beer in hand, and walked back to the payphone. McClanagle came over and refilled Devlin's empty shot glass. Devlin dialed his phone card number and then Jane's number. As it rang, he drained the beer and set the bottle on top of the phone. The line picked up. "We're sorry. This call cannot be made at this time. Please hang up and try again." Devlin's temper began to boil. Then the automated voice came back. "Please hang up and try again." Hey there, Boyle! Be careful with that phone," Seamus called. The noise that ensued sounded as if Mr. Baker ripped the phone off the wall. Seamus was about to say something to the effect of "get out" when his voice dried up like an October leaf. From the hall to the bathroom came a hulking, muscular form. Torn jeans still hung on to its privates, but the rest of it was covered in coarse, dark fur. McClanagal's eyes widened and locked with the yellow eyes of the beast. Then he saw under the long snout a gnarled sneer filled with sharp, mean-looking teeth. McClanagal could barely breathe, but he said softly, "Oh my, Mary, Joseph, and Christ. It's real. Grandma always said they were real. It's here." The 5 men turned around in their seats, and the creature looked at them. The men were petrified at the sight as it lumbered to the seat at the far end of the bar. The girl in the booth let out a short yelp before her boyfriend slapped his hand over her mouth. The beast sat down and put its heavy claws on the bar. Its tail swished back and forth behind the bar stool. Seamus was standing right there in front of it. His heart was ready to pound its way out of his chest, and the sweat that ran down his neck was ice cold. The stranger was an omen to the end of days, Seamus was certain. The creature slid his left claw over the bar, leaving deep grooves and curly long wood shavings. The creature took a deep breath and released a small guttural growl. Everyone was as still as statues as they watched in fascination. It picked up the shot glass and tilted its head back, slamming the shot of whiskey. Setting the shot glass upside down on the bar, it stood up, locking eyes once again with Seamus. Seamus thought for sure his life was over. He shut his eyes tight and awaited the death blow that was inevitably coming. The creature faded from his sight, and he saw only darkness, and the brass bells rang. Seamus opened his eyes in time to see the creature drop down on all fours and bound off into the night, releasing a howl towards the large orange hunter's moon. To Seamus's surprise, there was a $20 bill on the bar. The young girl spoke up. "It took it out of his pocket, its back pocket, and laid it there." Seamus picked up the bill and looked at it as if he had never seen legal tender before in his life. He then took the shot glass and placed it on a shelf above the bar, visibly shaking. "Well, Mr. McClanagal, you believe in that blarney now?" Mr. King said. Seamus looked over to the men and smiled with relief, and came to refill the men's drinks. "Aye, Mr. King, I am now a believer. Now shut up and eat your peanuts."